Many of una they blame Wike for Rivers State, say no one allow Fubara breathe. But many can not forget say na Wike na him stop Fubara. But make we take am from the other side. Why politicians they want say they go install predecessors, I mean their successors when they leave office? I won't make reference to Kogi State and Delta State as a be now. See, for Kogi State, as immediately Yaya Bello come on for office, EFCC can't find out one thing. They can't say thief some money when they won't say go explain. Who give am backing? Now the person when he store as governor. Till date, the last time say when Yaya Bello carry body gallant enter waka enter EFCC office. Na him and the Cuban governor na him waka go. Understand? Na him carry am with him security balance gallantly waka enter EFCC office. Now come Delta State. Recently, I know say EFCC catch Okowa say misappropriate 1.3 trillion naira. Now EFCC they still dey on the case, but now EFCC they don't bail or release Okowa. But what did happen now? Okowa collaborating with the governor when he installed Sheriff Oborowori. Now they run from one media house to the other to clear Okowa name. They say EFCC no fit substantiate the claim say Okowa misappropriate 1.3 trillion naira. Apart from that one, it try let us know now say the integrity of Okowa still dey intact. It's nothing dey happen.
All Delta State funds were spent under Ifeanyi Okowa in the 8 years he was governor of the state. So the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission has withheld the international passport of the former governor Ifeanyi Okowa after he was arrested, detained, and then released. He was arrested by the agency on the 4th of November 2024 over an alleged diversion of 1.3 trillion derivation fund. The 1.3 trillion amounted to a 13% derivation fund from the Federation account between 2015 and 2023. He was also accused of failing to render accounts of the funds as well as another 40 billion naira he allegedly claimed he used to acquire shares in UTM floating liquefied natural gas, amongst other properties, some of which are said to be in some parts of Abuja and other parts of the country. There's a whole lot happening after the release of Senator Ifeanyi Okowa. There are those who are close to him who says they know about it. They know how the funds were utilized. They know that this is a witch hunt, according to them, that this Ifeanyi Okowa is a saint, according to them. So one of those who think strongly about this is Charles Aniagwu, who is a former commissioner under Ifeanyi Okowa. He's live for us from Asaba, the capital of Delta State. Thank you so much, Charles, for joining us tonight.
Thank you very much, Sean, for this privilege to appear before your program this evening.
Yeah,
and good evening, Nigerians.
You believe that your principal, Ifeanyi Okowa, is not guilty of the allegations leveled against him by the EFCC. What gives you the confidence that he is not guilty?
Well, Sean, I think it's important that we set the record straight. EFCC did not level any allegation against Governor Ifeanyi Okowa. We need to make it very, very clear. It was some politicians who wrote a petition. And that petition, if you recall, even just barely some weeks after he left office May last year, sometime in June, they came up with this petition. Faceless individuals came up with the petition. So it's not EFCC. So let's not put it on the doorstep of the EFCC. Naturally, once a petition is written, EFCC is empowered to investigate that petition. That's what EFCC is doing. Some political individuals who possibly were not very happy with the 2023 outcome of 2023 election in the state, and of course the rising profile of Senator Dr. Ifeanyi Okowa, decided to cook up stories and claim that about 1.3 trillion was taken out of the coffers of the Delta State government. And then you need to ask, for anybody to take out that amount of money, it means that you need as much as over 13.5 billion every month for the 96 months that he held sway as the governor of Delta State. I leave the conjecture to you to imagine how that is possible. And then, of course, because they could not also find materials, structures, buildings to attach to Okowa, they decide to begin to look for other people's property and attach it to him. To the extent that the estate where he lives, where many other people live, and in that estate, no two houses even look alike. They claim that it belongs to him. A bank that has been operating long before now and has just a branch in Delta and many branches in Lagos and other very notable cities in Nigeria, because they could not also see what to attach to him, they claim that he's the owner of the bank. Of course, you are very much aware that both the CBN as well as the Corporate Affairs Commission can clearly tell you who owns any particular business that is registered in this country. Both the promoters, either remotely or directly, the directors, the sources of funds of any of these organizations are always very well known. But these individuals who wrote this petition, and like I told you, it was not EFCC that is alleging, because they are using that word EFCC to give weight to what they have said. It is this individual, just like I am. If anybody writes something to EFCC, EFCC is entitled by law to invite me to investigate to find out whether it is true or not. Even to the extent of two hotels in Asaba that belongs to individuals that are known to both EFCC and Nigerians, they claim that they belong to Okowa, even when Okowa does not even know the names of those hotels. So let's make it clear that some politicians are the ones who wrote this petition. And unfortunately, they were able to get some of our colleagues in the media to push it as if that is the narrative of the EFCC. The EFCC is entitled and empowered to investigate anybody, to ask questions, to look at petitions forwarded to them, but we must make that distinction that the EFCC did not come to data and then saw that money was missing. It must be made very, very clear.
Mr. Aniagwu, let's break it down quickly. Yeah.
Yes.
Now, but you are speaking on behalf of your principal tonight. And he
remember, I was information commissioner for 4 years in that administration. Yeah. I was also chief press secretary. So I'm speaking from position of knowledge, not that I was in.
Yeah, I'm saying that you as an agent of Ifeanyi Okowa, you have information and you're speaking from the position of authority. I just like to establish that. Now,
very correct.
So the issue here, first and foremost, is that you are establishing tonight that it is politically motivated. Is that what you're saying?
Very well. Very well.
And who are these politicians? If you might tell us tonight, who are these politicians that you are making reference to?
Some of them are very, very faceless, and that is why, Shehu, you can see none of them, just like as I've appeared before your station now, none of them have been able to come to your station and said, this man took 2 naira and put it here. They know that they cannot come to your station and claim that Okowa owns those hotels that they are mentioning, because that, of course, it will be subject to litigation. They know they cannot also claim that Okowa owns the estate that is even very, very, very far away from where he lives in Abuja. They know they cannot. So what they did is to just spin it around, find one word or the other to put it into the media and deceive some of my colleagues in the media and made it look as if it was coming from the EFCC. The EFCC is doing its legitimate business of investigating any allegation that is made available to it. So we do not begrudge the EFCC. So it will also be wrong for anybody to think in the course of time that you can imagine EFCC did not hold this man, EFCC did not send him to court, EFCC did not continue to detain him. It is not EFCC. It is these politicians who thought, I mentioned to you, Chiun, that shortly after we left office in May 2023, these individuals came up with this allegation. And let me mention quickly, of course, you know Premium Trust Bank. They went to the extent of alleging that even the MD of the bank is Okowa's brother, even when they are not from the same local government. There are a whole lot of allegations that they put up because they have seen his integrity. They have seen that he holds sway in terms of the governance and, of course, the issues of administration in Delta. And all they could do ahead of 2027 is to begin to look for one way or the other to smear his
Charles, yeah, I mean, it does look, when you are making reference and accusing others about the inquisition or the query over the issues of accountability of when your principal was in office, and you are not able to mention names, it does look like it's in the realm of conjectures. And you were saying these phantom politicians who are after your principal are up to bringing him down. Are these Delta State politicians or politicians outside of Delta?
They are, some of them, of course, are from Delta. The reason why I can tell you this is that All this one they are saying alleged. For instance, this morning I watched TV and I could see the response of the presidency to issues raised by former President Olusegun Obasanjo. You can state that Obasanjo said this and the presidency replied this. In this alleged, who is the person alleging? It is not the EFCC, I hope you know.
No, it's the EFCC that is now taking the matter up and investigating.
No.
It's in the realm of allegation until the man who is under question, under investigation, is now found guilty. But the question I would like to ask you, how, since you were Chief Press Secretary, the funds, and you are Chief Press Secretary and you are Commissioner of Information. In fact, you are the custodian and the library of information as far as Okowa was concerned when he was in office.
Very correct.
So you will know where the money is, maybe under your hat that you're wearing tonight.
But thank you very much.
But Charles, tell us.
If you pardon me, I can give you some
Just a moment, Charles. These funds that they are looking for is between 2015 and 2023. Is it possible that you publish how these derivation funds were disbursed and spent? If the financials can be published, that clear the air.
I don't need to read any book to tell you because I told you I'm involved. I'm a participant in that administration and a very clear one at that. Between 2015 and 2023, the administration of Okowa under 8 years received both in terms of FAC allocation, in terms of derivation, in terms of revenue from our internally generated sources, in terms of even some other form of loans and assistances that came from World Bank, but on account of the finding out that Okowa's government was quite transparent, amounted to 2.65 trillion naira, 2,650 billion. Out of this amount, we spent over 700 billion for the purposes of building infrastructure in terms of the capital expenditure. We spent over 621 billion for the purposes of payment of salaries. We spent over 140 billion for the purposes of payment of pensions and some contributory pension as well.
Mr. Aniagwu, you are shooting too wide. We are talking about one line item. The derivation fund spent 2015 and 2023. Is it possible that you can publish for public to see what was spent, what was received, and the receipts and what was spent? It's as simple as ABC.
I need to also give you some information. There is no government that have account that say this is our derivation account. When money comes into a state, it's just like, for instance, when you earn your salary and you earn your allowances. Do you have allowances account and salary account? They come into one account. As a state government, we operated 3 distinct accounts, and we have made it very, very clear. The FAC account is resident in Zenith Bank. Very, very clear. You can investigate. We also have the joint local government and state account, which is JAC account, I think somewhere in UBA. And then, of course, we also have the internally generated revenue account, which is resident in the Sterling Trust Bank. All these 3 banks are known. So once any of your funds that is coming from FAC, from Federation is coming in, it hits our account in Zenith Bank, which is still very much there. When it is issue of the funds we are generating around in terms of internal sources, it has an account it goes to. Whether they give us derivation, the federal government in giving us derivation only give it a name. They don't label the money derivation. It is known if it is, for instance, 2 billion, say derivation is 2 billion. VAT is maybe 1 billion. The one that you bring in from consolidated revenue fund that you now share, then has amount. You total it and you credit the state account. So if you are asking me to go and tell you this one, once it comes, the state has an annual budget, which we usually put out. Depending on this monies that we have, we add up that budget is made up of what we are going to generate internally, made up of our derivation accounts, made up of our funds that comes in from the FAC account.
Yes,
all of them come together.
Charles, I mean, with my little understanding of economics and a bit of accounting and keeping the books, yes. I disagree slightly with you. The books are simply, and if you speak with your commissioner for finance, it might just a moment, it might be able to explain and give details. There are just a handful of states in Nigeria that receive derivation fund from the federal government, and the source of these funds are clear. Now, FAC allocation is also a distinct and a very specific fund that comes from the federal government. And I think that this could be easily established if you as a former information commissioner and a former CPS can, on behalf of your principal, come to town and publish how these funds were spent, how those local government, because there are allegations that some of these funds went into buying of assets, buying of shares, buying of properties linked to Ifeanyi Okowa. And if you can make all of these succinctly published, I think that would clear the air, don't you think?
Well, thank you very much. You have even done that, except that naysayers want to progress along this line. Now you are talking about buying of shares. That's the UTM shares. UTM is a floating gas company, which is first of its kind in our country. And we discovered that Delta State, being a gas also rich in gas resources, that it will not be fair for us to allow it to move to another state. First, we wanted to buy into about 5% into the shares of that company. And in the course of time, when we saw the viability, after our advisors have been able to advise us that there's a need and it's viable, we increased it to 8% of the shareholding. Sometime in December 2023, the present administration met with NNPC, and then the agreement on Nigerian gas, and the agreement was signed in Abuja, and we have invested about 42 billion naira into that. Today, as I speak to you, the value of that share is in excess of 100 billion. And it is found, it can be found where the money is. Okowa's name is not in any, is not a shareholder of UTM. That is the shares that we bought from UTM, which is a gas floating company that we invested on behalf of our state. And you know what? If we have opportunity to also do that investment tomorrow, Shemu will also buy into it because it's good for our state. Now, to correct what you said, I said when money comes in, your book may be different from where you keep your money. For instance, when they pay you salary, Shemu, go and look at your pay slip. You have different allowances. You have wardrobe allowance, you have transport allowance, you have feeding allowance, you have medical allowance. When Channels pays you, do you have account for medical allowance, account for feeding allowance? The money hits into your account, Channels puts it together as one money. When you want to spend it, Shehu, you don't just, okay, yesterday they gave me money for medical. Let me go and use that to buy Panadol.
Just for us to, I know that Senator Ifeanyi Okowa will have his day in court and be able, under the law, to defend his name. But the question is, and how we can wrap this up, is that the passport, sorry, just remember, let me land the question.
We don't need to progress to talking about court. It's only when they're able to find out substance.
Yeah, well, that's dependent on the prosecuting agency. So the question is, if we wrap up on the passport international travel document of your principal has been seized. If he has no case to answer, why?
Joe, that is not a big deal. Once you are if you are investigating somebody and you feel that there are certain things you need to do to deposit for the purpose of administrative bail, what is the big deal in holding somebody? Did we deny that EFCC is investigating that allegation? But I have asked you, who is the person alleging? I gave you an example. Former President Olusegun Obasanjo said one or two things against this administration. You can point to it that this is what Obasanjo said. And this is the response of the presidency. In this allegation that we keep, that they have thrown into the media, who is the person that is alleging?
All right.
It is not the FCC.
All right.
Now you see why politicians, they install their successors if they don't want more for office, because the successors, when they install, now go protect them if anything is sup. You understand? Now, if they tell you the amount when the state government they spend for this media paparazzi and when Okowa they do just to clear and to paint the image good, you go shock the budget when they allocate for this media tour when they do for Okowa and EFCC case now. You understand? So this is why politicians installs their successors.